Are you ready to expand your life and reality? Join us for the next hour with Jamie Bates as she shares life-changing thoughts, techniques, and awarenesses to help you expand your reality.
Hello and welcome. I am Jamie Bates, consciousness facilitator and expander of realities. My mission with my radio show is to create greater awareness of what is possible and to expand you beyond the limitations of this reality. I am grateful that you are joining me today. And today I have a special show for you. Today I am talking about holding space. Yeah. So today we're going to define what it means to hold space. We're going to talk about how you hold space for those around you. And we're also going to talk about why in the world would you even want to hold space for someone? So we're going to dive into these different constructs around holding space today. So today is going to be interesting in a way where I feel like I have so much to say about holding space, but at the same time, it's such an interesting construct to explain. I've been really kind of going round and round about exactly how to talk about this subject. So I think I have a pretty good hold on exactly what we're going to talk about today. So let's just dive in. So first and foremost, what we're going to do is we're going to expand out. So if you've never listened to the show before, if you don't know what expanding out is, essentially what we're going to do is we're going to expand out your being, not your body. Right? You are an infinite being, and your being is outside of your body, not inside your body. So if you're new to this show, you may not have ever even heard that concept before, because I think we all identify with this idea that our being is inside of our body, right? Well, in all actuality, our being is this big, huge energy, space, and consciousness. And we have all of this energy, space, and consciousness available to us. So when we expand our being, what we're doing is we're expanding our being outside of our body, right? Because our being is this big, huge energy, space, and consciousness, and then our body is within it. It's inside of our energy, space, and consciousness. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go ahead and expand our beings and really get ourselves into that energy, space, and consciousness where we're really, truly all the way out as big as the infinite being that we be, so we can really, truly absorb the information we're talking about today and really, truly get into that space where we're out of our points of view and limitations. That's really what expanding has such an amazing power to do, is to really get you into that true space of who you be and outside of that limitation of this reality and all of the things that you've decided are true. So let's go ahead and put our barriers down, our barriers down, our barriers down, our barriers down, and let's go ahead and expand out. Go ahead and make yourself as big as the state that you're in. You're going to go all the way out and all the way down and all the way up. And go ahead and make yourself as big as the country that you're in, all the way out and all the way down and all the way up. Bigger, faster, bigger, faster, bigger, faster. So you don't actually have to know how to do this. You don't even have to visualize anything. All you're doing is listening to the sound of my voice. And go ahead and make yourself as big as the planet that we're on, becoming one with everyone and everything. So we're going all the way through the planet. Bigger, faster, bigger, faster, bigger, faster, bigger, faster. In the universe, as big as the universe actually is. There we go. And the multiverse, multiple universes, and times that by a million, 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 all the way out to the space of who you be as the infinite being that you be. Yeah, nice deep breath. When you get to that space of the infinite being that you be, there's kind of like this release feeling. It's like, and then that nice deep breath kind of rolls in. So if you're not feeling that yet, if you've been listening to my radio show, if you've maybe been doing this for a little while and you're not really feeling that real space, you're probably not going out as big as you truly are. So that's why I like to kind of take the planet, right? Or not the planet, but the universe as it really truly is and then times it by a million, because I feel like it's such a big space, right? It's not even really a space we can wrap our brain around. So maybe even if you times that by like 50 or something, and maybe you could spatially kind of wrap your awareness around how big that is, so then maybe you can go out bigger. I don't know, you have to kind of keep playing with it. If you're not feeling that like relaxation or that expansion feeling, just more than likely you're just not going out big enough. So keep playing with going bigger and going bigger and going bigger and going bigger. Everything that doesn't allow you to go bigger, can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now? And vaporize, 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 vaporize. There you go. Go out beyond that, beyond that, beyond that, beyond that, beyond that. So all we're doing here when we clear is we're going in the energy space and consciousness of you, just like we just expanded out, right? And we're just clearing out the stuff that's in the way. We're clearing out all the unconscious energy. We're just essentially, whenever we do a clearing, we're just clearing out the energy that's in the way. Now, one of the things I wanted to address today was I had somebody ask me a question about clearing, like, well, what if I don't want to let that go? And here's the thing, like, just because you clear something out of your energy space and consciousness doesn't mean that you can never have it back. Like, you always have choice, right? So if we're doing these clearings and you're listening to this show and you're scared that like, oh, but I don't want to clear something, what if I need that later? Just know that you can always re-choose anything. Okay, we're never going to clear something. If you are really attached to that thing and you really like that thing, whatever it is, and you feel like you're scared to clear it, just know that, like, if you really like something, you can always invoke it back if you do end up clearing it. But more than likely, we're not going to be clearing anything that you really like anyways. What all we're essentially doing is we're clearing out the unconscious energies, and a lot of times we're even clearing out the points of view, right? Because what we're doing here is when you have a solidified viewpoint, you lock yourself into aligning and agreeing within that viewpoint. And what happens is if there's a viewpoint that would maybe suit you better or expand you more, if you're locked into a certain area, you're not going to really be able to access that other thing that would maybe expand you more. So clearing out your viewpoints, in my point of view, is really kind of a something that really takes your life to a new level. So you don't really necessarily have to worry that you're going to clear something and then you're going to miss it, because you can always invoke anything back, and really all you're doing is giving yourself some new space. Yeah. So to the topic today, so holding space. Today we're really going to define, again, what it means to hold space, how do we hold space, and why do we even want to hold space? So let's start here at the beginning. What does it mean to hold space? Well, when you're holding space for someone, you're basically holding a space of allowance, a space of acceptance, intentional presence for someone to really have exactly what they desire. Now, there's lots of different ways that we're going to hold space, and we can really kind of talk about all of those today. But essentially, first and foremost, you can hold space for someone energetically, or you can hold space for someone with intention. Now, there's different ways we hold space. Like I can hold space because I'm working with someone as a facilitator, right? And they need me to hold space so they can get through something that maybe that's difficult. So you might hold space for someone for something if they're going through a difficult situation, right? Now you may hold space because they asked you to hold space for them, or you may hold space just because you want to help. So there's lots of different ways here. I guess, like, we may do it for someone and they know it. We may do it for someone and they don't know it. We may do it for complicated issues, or we may do it for stuff that's really, really simple. Um, Essentially, holding space is, again, basically holding a space of allowance, acceptance, presence for someone. So let me explain. So I do a lot of holding space energetically. Now, you don't have to hold space energetically. Um, and it's kind of really even hard for me to define, but I thought, I can use examples, and maybe you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. So when I hold space energetically, now that's a lot what I do as a facilitator, okay? As a facilitator, I'm going to deep dive with you into those places in your life where you have pretty severe pain points, okay? Um, and what we're going to essentially do, like, okay, now I was just looking at examples that I could use, um, that I think we can all identify with. And one of the examples that I was looking at here is, say I'm working with a client and they really want to repair a relationship with someone that they love. Now there's different levels of repair here, right? I have clients who want to repair relationships with people that they're estranged, right? Maybe they haven't seen the person in um, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, right? I've worked with people who it's been all the way up to like 35 years since they've actually seen the person. And what's interesting about that is um, when someone when someone really wants to repair a relationship with someone, it's amazing how much of the pain that we hold on to, right? And we may even cycle in that pain every single day, right? Um, they want to repair a relationship. Sometimes it doesn't even necessarily mean that they're estranged from that person. They can be um, maybe a spouse, maybe, I work with people who've been married 20, 25, 30 years, right? And they feel like their spouse is more like someone that they live with, right? It doesn't really, they don't have that spark anymore. They don't have that love in their relationship anymore. And and really what's really at the core of either one of those situations is the pain, right? They're feeling maybe unheard, unseen, unacknowledged. Maybe they're feeling like the person really hurt their feelings, and they can't forgive them. And again, like, it's the same energy, whether it's someone that's for further estranged or someone that they're living with that they feel is a stranger, right? And they start really looking at all of that. And the thing about for me, really energetically holding space for people is one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to hold space. So if I'm working with someone and they're looking to repair a relationship from the past, right? What I'm going to do is I'm going to really, first and foremost, I'm going to start really holding an energetic space for them of kind of like, gosh, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, well, first I'm going to hold a space of allowance and acceptance, because essentially what really needs to happen is, not only does my client have to accept where their relationship is currently, right? They also have to accept and have allowance for themselves, because oftentimes we'll beat ourselves up, right? Oh, I was a terrible person when I did this, and I shouldn't have done that, and I shouldn't have done this, and we have all this grief and guilt and upset over the situations that created the problem in the first place. Right? And we cycle in those and cycle in those and cycle in those. And for me, energetically, when I hold a space of allowance for someone, and that's even what I just do when I'm just like doing a regular facilitation, I'm holding a space of allowance. I don't have a viewpoint either way. I'm not saying, oh my gosh, you're a terrible person because you made a mistake in that relationship, or maybe you said something that was mean, or maybe you did something that was mean for years, right? It doesn't really matter. What matters is you're waking up to the realization that you need to change who you were in order to move forward in your life, right? You need to release the pain from the past. You need to release the upset that you're thinking about. And, every single one of us, I don't care who you are, you have issues in your life or things that happen to you at one point that you think about at least 2 to 3 times a day. And when you think about those periods in your life, they might feel painful. You might feel stupid. You might feel guilty. You might feel um, grief. You might feel just plain angry with yourself, right? So what I'm going to do is energetically is I'm going to hold a space of allowance, and I'm going to hold this space, and I'm going to let your body and your being know that it's okay. Like, you did the best that you could with the information that you had. And in order to really truly move forward in your life, in order to really truly move on, you really have to let that energy go. You have to stop cycling in that same pattern. And the best way that I know how to stop you from cycling in that pattern is to hold space of allowance for you. Yeah, that right there. And when I hold space, when I energetically hold space of allowance and acceptance for who you are, all of a sudden you get to release that stuff. You no longer have to cycle and being the effect of that. And that's kind of like my version of the energy of it, right? And this is true. You can do this for anyone in your life. Now, if you're not a big energy person and you're still kind of confused on how I'm doing it, right? It really boils down to um, really acknowledging the energies that someone is being, and being an allowance and having acceptance for who they are, and not making what they chose, no matter what it was or when it was, wrong. Yeah, and everything, all of that is all of that, 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 all of that. Can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now? And vaporize, 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 vaporize. If the energy thing kind of feels kind of weird, like you're not really quite sure, I feel like as we go on today here, I think you're going to understand it deeper and deeper and deeper. But you can also just do it by intention. Now, intention is like, essentially just intending to hold space for that person for whatever the outcome may be. Now, again, we may hold space for someone because they asked us to hold space, like as a facilitator, right? People come to me and say, hey, I'm going to pay you money and you're going to hold space for me. Essentially, that's what I do, right? And as I hold that space, I'm going to energetically untangle them. That's really my specialty. But they come to me and ask me, right? But you can also hold space for people who necessarily didn't ask you. But again, like when you hold space for someone, it's still choice space. Like, I can hold space for someone to heal. I can hold space for someone to release. That doesn't necessarily mean that they have to choose to do that. Okay, and that's a big thing about holding space for people. Just because you hold space for someone, you can't be attached to the outcome. You can't be like, oh, well, I held space for you for 3 days and you didn't do that and blah, blah. No, it doesn't work like that. Like, you hold space for someone and you become completely unattached to the outcome. Okay, there's no I'm going to hold space and this is what it's going to be, and if you don't choose that, then you're not right or you're wrong. It's like, no, you're going to hold space and you're going to have that space of allowance and acceptance for the people that you're holding space for, and give them the space to be able to choose whatever it is that they would like to choose. And again, as we move on, I think this is going to become more and more clear exactly what I'm talking about here. It was kind of hard for me to lay this out. I wanted to make sure that I'm kind of like laying down the foundation here for for what holding space really looks like. So if you do it just by intention, again, like, you can do it for deeper things like healing, like holding the intention for someone to heal. Now, that doesn't mean that someone has to choose healing, right? That's a totally different thing. You know, again, like, we don't know what people's paths are. We don't know what people are destined to go through when they're here. And when you say, I'm holding a space, when you intend to hold a space for healing, and that person goes, yeah, but I don't really want to choose healing. And this might not be a conscious thought. This might be an unconscious thought. Maybe their body is just ready to go. Maybe healing even means releasing the body and moving on. Like, we can't have a viewpoint about, quote unquote, what the intention is that we're projecting at someone. Okay, when you hold a space of intention for someone, it's really to hold the space basically for the best possible outcome for them, without you having a judgment attached to it. So let's say someone is going for a job interview and they say, send me some good luck. Now you can hold space for the interview, right? But now for me, I want to hold space of allowance and awareness during that job interview, because what I want, I don't want to say what I want, what is really the best possible outcome is for the person to be able to really be able to have the awareness if this job is a fit for them or not. When I start coaching people, it's always interesting because almost everyone usually ends up transitioning in some way, shape, or form into a new job. And when they start looking, it's like sometimes they'll get calls and they'll be like, oh my gosh, this job is perfect. And I'm like, well, wait, like, did you actually feel into it? Did you just decide that that job was perfect, right? Or did you really go into that with awareness of what's going to truly work for you? Because there's a big difference. And I think if you've ever been in a job that you're miserable at, that you were initially excited to start, you more than likely went into that job with a viewpoint about this job is going to be perfect, right, awesome, whatever. Maybe the pay was really good and you decided, oh, this is the best job in the whole world. And then you get in there and you're like, whoa, this really, really, truly sucks, right? And you start getting mad and you start getting angry, or you can kind of hop back, right? And really truly look at it. Like, don't you want to have awareness of if that job's going to work for you or not? I mean, if you have awareness, if you have a job interview and you go into that job interview with awareness, what you're going to be armed with is you're going to know, like, hey, does this job work for me? Does the people I'm going to be working for work for me? Is this going to expand my life or contract my life? So when you start holding space for someone, again, you can't hold the space with a viewpoint, right? When we look at that job energy, right, it's the same thing. It's like you want to hold space for awareness, so they have awareness that if that job is going to work for them or not. And it's the same thing if you're looking for a job, right? You want to have the awareness of if that job is going to work for you or not. You don't just want to blindly choose things until you have the awareness. And now once you have the awareness of if it's going to work, I'm a big firm believer, like, once you have awareness of that it's going to work, then you have to jump in and choose it, and you have to choose it fully. And then you have to still see, does it still match the energy of what I'm looking for? But again, like, holding that space for you to really have awareness and allowance for what's going to work for you is different than I'm going to intend that you're going to get that job. Do you feel the difference there? Yeah. So you can hold the intention that they're going to have the awareness and the uh, the information that's going to give them the space to be able to see if that job's going to work for them. But don't hold the space. Don't intend that they're going to get the job just because maybe they are desperate for a job, or maybe they feel like they really need a job right now. I just went through a very similar instance with one of my daughters. She had moved and was looking for a new job, right? And she was really going into this space where she's like, I need a job right now, and I have to have a job right now. And she was kind of starting to feel in that desperate mode. And I'm like, hold up. Like, back up, right? Take some deep breaths and really look for the awareness of, what do you really want to choose? Let's hold some space. Let's get clear about what you want to choose, and let's hold some space for that job to show up. Whenever you do anything out of that desperation energy, whenever you do anything where you feel like you're just choosing something because you feel like you have to, you're not truly holding space for something amazing to show up in your life. You're just blindly choosing things because, again, like maybe you feel like you have to choose it. Everything, all of that is right there. And all of that, 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 can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now? And vaporize, 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 vaporize. Yeah, nice deep breath, and just let all of that go. Let all that go, let all that go, let all that go, let all that go. And why don't we, while we're at this point right now, why don't we just take a quick break? Nancy, if you can give us a 5-minute break to just kind of reset, and we will dive back in when we come back to how do we hold space. Enjoy. And we're back talking about holding space today. So we've been talking about holding space. So let's really look at, how do you hold space? So the number one rule when holding space is you can't hold space for something that you have a judgment on. You want to hold the space so that it will expand. So what I mean by that is like you can't hold space with this energy where you have it like being like a certain outcome, right? There's no particular outcome, and there's also not kind of a, what's the word I'm looking for? There's also not like a, gosh, I had lots of I had lots of things I was going to say about that, and they all have completely left the building. So one of the things I wanted to really look at is I know that this energy of like how to hold space may seem really confusing, but one of the things that I want us to really understand is, you probably already hold space, or I'm going to not even say probably, you hold space for people all the time. Now, it might not necessarily look like holding space in the sense of what we're talking about right now, because more than likely you live more in an energy where you're in projection and expectation of people. But it's essentially the same exact thing. So one of the examples I was looking at is, let's say you work with someone who is a jerk, okay? And if you don't work with someone who's a jerk right now, you probably have, in some point in your life, have worked with someone who you have decided or deemed as a jerk, right? So what happens is essentially what you're doing is you're holding space for them to always be a jerk. Okay, and I want to explain this for a second. So essentially, let's say you work with this person and this person's a jerk, right? And everyone you work with has decided that this person is a jerk. So what happens is no matter what's going on, people have a certain expectation that this person is going to be a jerk, right? So what they're doing is they're holding space for that person to always show up as a jerk. I hope that makes sense. It's like this projection of, okay, this is who the person has been in the past, right? This is who I've decided this person is. So every time I think about that person, I think about this person is a jerk, right? Now, so essentially what you're doing is you're holding space for that person to be a jerk. So what happens to people is they get in this box of energy where all kinds of people have decided who they are, right? They all decided that everyone at work, or everyone in the office, or everyone in the store that you work at, whatever, thinks that this person is a jerk. So everyone is holding space for that person to be a jerk. right? More space, more space, more space, more space. Do we see that? Can you feel that? Can you feel that projection of space? Now, that comes with a heavy solidification, right? Now, oftentimes, like, I'm going to look at that same energy and I'm going to say, if I was facilitating that person, I'm going to really get that people have put that person in a box of being a jerk, right? And that person's maybe really sad because that person doesn't really want to be a jerk anymore. But what's happening is they're stuck in the energetic projection of what that is, right? Because people are holding space for them to be that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold the equal and opposite space. I'm going to hold the space of gratitude for that person, right? Grateful that that person has continued to stay alive even though everyone that they work with thinks that they're a jerk, and it's hard for them to really even maybe go to work every day because they don't want to be the jerk, but they can't help it because every single person around them is holding space for them to be a jerk. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in and I'm going to hold space of gratitude, okay? Because I'm going to understand that I'm going to acknowledge, that's a big part of holding space, right? I'm going to acknowledge that that person has maybe had a hard life. Maybe that person was abused when they were little and everyone treated them very unkind. And so their first call of action is to be unkind to others. Okay. And the thing is once people start solidifying that they're unkind, it just kind of like snowballs. And all of a sudden, they start feeling like, hey, I have no other choice. I have to continuously be a jerk. Now, I know that that might seem like a weird example, but I think that in any case, you can yourself perceive an example where maybe you're around certain people. Maybe it's family members. Maybe it's you at work. Maybe it's um, I know personally I used to live somewhere and I was just like, I felt so boxed in by everyone's point of view about who I had to be. I had to get out of there, right? I think we can all identify in certain situations in our life when people have so many points of view, so many expectations of who they think that we are, and we don't want to be that person anymore, but we can't change it because it's like we're stuck being that person. And every time we're around, anybody that's within that situation, we find ourselves auto responding in that way, and it's like it makes us mad, it makes us angry, like, I don't want to be this person anymore. Why can't I get out of it? Well, you can't get out of it because people are holding space for you to be that. So inadvertently, you may already be holding space for people and you didn't even know it. Everything, all of that is right there. And all of that, 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 all of that. Can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now? And vaporize, 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 vaporize. Now, again, when you're holding space for someone, you're just holding a space. It does not mean that someone has to choose it. So if I'm looking at the person that I work with maybe and everyone has decided that this person is a jerk, right? I'm going to hold space of gratitude for this person. I'm going to acknowledge that maybe this person has had, a hard life. I'm going to stand in my awareness and I'm really going to be in this allowance and acceptance. Like, this is one of the greatest spaces I feel like we can be. Like, if someone's surely being a jerk and you're just in allowance of it and acceptance of, like, okay, they're totally choosing to be a jerk, that's okay. Like, I chose to be a jerk at points in my life, right? I don't have to resist and react to that anymore. I get that that was something that I chose to do and I don't have to choose it anymore. So when you go to that space where you realize that you can accept and allow yourself to be that space sometimes, when you can go to that space where you can go, okay, so this person is being a jerk, awesome, I can acknowledge that. I can stand and be in and allowance and acceptance of the fact that that's just what they're choosing and that's okay. Like, that's not mine. I don't actually have to do anything with that. Like, if someone else chooses to be a jerk and chooses to be mean, that's not mine. I can accept that. That's who they're being. I can be an allowance of it, and I can hold a space of gratitude for that person. Now, that person can choose the space of gratitude, or that person can go, take your gratitude and shove it up your butt. Like, either way, it doesn't matter to me, because I'm going to have allowance and acceptance for whatever that person chooses, and everything that doesn't allow that for you. And all of that, 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 all of that. Can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now? And vaporize, 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 vaporize. So basically, you have been holding space for people your whole entire life and you didn't even realize it. And what I want you to really acknowledge here that is potentially you've been holding space for people that have a lot of viewpoints on it, right? Like looking at the energy of um of someone being a jerk. Like you may have really been in resistance to that or even reaction to that, right? Like I know personally there was a time in my life where if somebody was being a jerk, I had lots of reaction to someone choosing to be a jerk. Where now I don't have to choose that. I can hold a space of something different. Everything that doesn't allow that for you to be that space for someone else, everything, all of that is. And all of that, 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 can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now? And vaporize, 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 vaporize. So why would you even want to hold space for someone that's maybe being a jerk, or why would you want to even hold space for someone? Period. Well, the thing is like when you hold space for someone, what you're essentially doing again is you're holding that space of allowance and acceptance for who they be. Holding space helps those around you evolve, but it also helps you evolve as well. When I can look at someone and I can kind of be that space where I can acknowledge that, hey, I have been many of the things that they have been, and I have chose to be something different, and they can too. And when we do that, when we hold this space, when we realize that everything that's going on for someone has a deeper meaning, it has a deeper level of understanding, it has a new level of awareness to it. When I can see that nothing anyone is choosing is really just because um, they've decided to be that, it's more than likely the space that they're stuck in. More space, more space, more space, more space. And I can be the space of allowance and I can give them a different possibility without having a point of view about it. I am helping the world evolve. It's interesting because, like, doing this work now for, the last 6 or 7 years, however long I've been doing it, um, the space that I have seen people create in their lives and the way that that has rippled out into creating something greater for those that they've touched, the lives that they've touched, I can see how just by me holding space for them initially, right? For me holding space for them to fix their relationship issues, for them to heal their life, for them to, when someone heals their life, the amount of people that they impact moving forward is a millionfold. When all of a sudden I'm no longer yelling and screaming at people in a restaurant, I'm no longer affecting everyone in that restaurant, right? That has a triple ripple effect, right? Just think about the chaos that you create in your life and situations when you act or react in a place or a space that you don't want to. And all of a sudden, when you have a space, when someone's holding a space for you to choose something different, when someone says, oh, you know what, yeah, last time you came in here, you were a real royal jerk to me. And instead of being angry with you, instead of being mad at you, instead of holding you to being that energy again, I'm going to hold space and know that you can choose something different. I don't expect you to be a jerk to me. I don't, uh, I don't I won't project at you that you have to be that space. I'm going to be an allowance of who you were before. And I'm going to accept that you can choose whatever you would like to choose. You change the world. If each and every one of us started holding space for something greater to show up, for something greater to expand us into something better and easier for our lives, if we stopped expecting and projecting at people that they have to be this judgment that we have decided that they have to be, and we start standing in that space of allowance, and we hold that space for something greater to show up, we change the world. And everything that doesn't allow that for you right there, all of that, 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 all of that. Can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes, and can we just choose that now? And vaporize, 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 vaporize. Holding space for people allows people to heal. It allows people to show up as who they desire to show up, not who you decided they were. You know, it's so interesting to me because, like, if you think right now, I don't care how long you've even been out of high school, okay? I want you to think of somebody you haven't seen since high school. Can you feel how many points of view you have about that person? You know, you think about, I've been out of high school for, gosh, it's going to be, what, 23, 24 years now? And if someone Facebook friends me that I haven't talked to since high school, I have reference points to exactly who I think they are based on who they were 20 some years ago. Or I can hold space for them to show up as exactly who they are right now, which is a completely different space. I mean, can any of us say that we are exactly the same as who we were when we went to high school? I mean, if you're listening to this show, I'm guessing you've probably been out for probably about as long as I have, right? I mean, I think a majority of my clientele base is about this, around the same age as I am. We've all been out of high school for 20 plus years. Why would you want anybody to think that you're the same person as you were when you were in high school? Don't you feel like you've changed a little? So why in the world would we hold that space for someone else? Everything, all of that is, ooh, all of that, 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 all of that. Can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now? And vaporize, 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 vaporize. When you hold space for someone, you're basically holding a space of allowance and acceptance for who they are right this very moment. Not who they were 5 years ago, not who they were 10 years ago, not who they were last week even. Every single day, we have a different choice. We have a different possibility. We do not have to be who we were before. We can choose to have a different version of ourselves show up. We can choose to have a more loving, a more peaceful, a more easeful day than we've ever had before every single day. Who I was 2 months ago is totally different from who I am today. And I don't want anybody to hold me to who I was even last week. Every day, I want the possibility to choose something different, something greater, something more. And today I want to hold that same space for you. I want to give you that possibility that you do not have to be who you used to be. You do not have to choose what you used to choose. I would gladly hold space for you, and I will hold space for you to be whatever it is that you truly desire to be. There is nothing that you cannot repair, heal, let go, release. You do not have to be who you thought you were. You do not have to be who you used to be. You do not have to be the sadness, the grief, the upset, the anger. You do not have to be that. You do not have to choose that anymore. And everything that doesn't allow that for you, can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now? Vaporize, 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 vaporize. Speaking of holding space, I currently have room for one more VIP client. I would love to hold space for you to heal. I would love to hold space for you to untangle and unwind from everything you've decided you were and allow you to really move and transition into who you would like to be. You know, it's so amazing to watch people transform from this space where they feel like, I'm covered in grief or upset, or if you have these instances where you're thinking about the same thing over and over and over, we store these memories. I work with people who've been cycling and feeling like they were bad about something that happened 20 or 25 years ago, and they're still thinking about it every single day. They're still upholding that energy of who they were when that very thing happened. And I know that that's so uncomfortable. It's such an uncomfortable place to be. It's such an uncomfortable place to stay. So if you're ready, if you're really truly ready to kind of move on with your life and let go of all of those places and spaces that don't work for you, please get a hold of me. I would love to start working with you. You can join me on my website at www.jamie-bates.com, or you can find me on Facebook, or you can join Expand Your Reality on Facebook, my group. But really, truly, if you need someone to hold space for you, I would love to help you hold space. Find someone that you trust to really, truly help you hold space to become something different. Yeah, everything that doesn't allow that for you. Can we just choose to remove all of that from all of the universes? And can we just choose that now? Vaporize, 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 vaporize. And today I'm super excited. I have decided that my book will be out in April of 2019. So we're just looking at about a month time frame, and my new book will be out. It has so many healing tools in it, so many stories, so many connections. I've had quite a few people read it now, and the consensus is that it's a very, very, very life-changing book. So I'm super excited to be announcing the arrival of that, which should be out in April of 2019, just putting a few finishing touches on it, and it will be ready to go. So I will keep you posted. I so appreciate all the feedback I've been getting on my radio show. Thank you all for holding space for me and for really truly listening and encouraging me to continue on. Also, I am still looking for radio show guests, so if you have something that you would like to come on and chat about, about, please get a hold of me. Again, you can go to my website, www.jamie-bates.com, and connect to me there, or on Facebook, send me a message. You can send me an email. Let me know that you would like to be a radio show guest, and we will see about what we can do about getting you on and creating a different space for you. So I am so grateful for each and every one of you for listening. Thank you so much for holding space for me, and thank you for listening to Expand Your Reality. And I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye.
You have been listening to Expand Your Reality with your host, Jamie Bates. Thank you for listening.